Welcome to episode 6, family. Peace. You're tuned in to the Diva and the Unk, mastering voice and vision in leadership.
And I'm Monifa Harris, your Diva in Flow, helping you unlock the power of presence and voice.
And I'm Dara, aka Everybody's Unk, here to build conscious culture and sales that feel like truth.
In every episode, we blend soul and strategy to amplify your leadership.
And help you move through life with purpose, clarity, and real alignment.
You ready to turn up that resonance?
Let's get it. This week's episode 6. Does anyone give a shit anymore? Yikes. Well, segment 1 today, as segment 1 is in every episode, is our recap from last week. Last week we spoke about gaslighting people. And it's funny, after the episode, I've been pointing out gaslighting every day since. So, Monifa, let's give us your recap on last week's episode and our topic of discussion, which was gaslighting. And did you notice it this week?
Did I notice? I don't really, not to be funny, but like I don't use a lot of these terms because I feel like what I want to know is like my strengths and weaknesses. And gaslighting to me, like when you label it, essentially you're labeling why, somebody's putting you as into a victim position of a conversation. And for me, it's more important to recognize when it's time for you to speak up. So that's usually where I go to. I'm like, okay, do you need to say something about that? Is there anything that you need to put in place to protect yourself in those situations? That's what I'm looking towards. I'm less like, are they doing something? I don't really care what they're doing. I'm more concerned about what I need to do about it,
Right. Well, for me, because I did some research on gaslighting, now like all my feeds have like these gaslighting topics. And so it's been following me around all week. So I've probably been more aware of gaslighting than I've ever been in my entire life, which is, it's almost like the default of today's world is to continue to give you more of what you asked for. And so, yeah, I got a whole mouthful of gaslighting. And yeah, let's move on to the next topic. Segment 2, Monifa's moment of transition.
Yes, transformation.
Transformation, my bad.
Yeah, that's what I like to talk about, transformation. So, what we're going to talk about this week is about your unique voice as a presence on stage. And so I've heard so many people's takes on this, like some of the big wigs on panels are talking about how to create your own, identity through tone and voice. And I think that's interesting. I think if it's important for you to have a characterization, like if then that's different. And I think a lot of people it is. It's just safer to have like an external character as the face to the public so that you're not taking those like kind of reactions of the public as to your ego, like shots to your ego. But if you're somebody who wants to be more of an authentic voice, then you don't need to put on anything. What you want to do is to be again in your body enough to recognize when it's already happening. And then you just get really excited about that and do more of that. So I got steps for you because that's how I do. I got some steps. So the first one we got is just understanding that that voice is not about only talking to other people, right? The voice is first for you. That's what we all learn when you come into my world, right? The voice is first for you, and then we share it with others. So even when we're talking on stage, we have to first be anchored in our own body and in our own ability to make sound. And so that is a feelingness of feeling that vibration in and around your body. And what a lot of people are doing is they're trying to send their voice out this way when they're on stage, right? And it just creates this kind of artificial kind of, and then it also is really bright. And a lot of us don't recognize that because it sounds different in our own head, right? So if you're sending, then you're not even recognizing like what people are hearing as opposed to what you're hearing. Those are two different things, right? So that's the thing. We want to, because we can't really tell what they're hearing, we want to be able to tell by how we're feeling. Okay. So that's the first thing, is that we want to be able to feel our own voice, how it's coming through our own body. And a good way to do that is to physically touch yourself. So like I like to put my hand on my belly, on my chest, and the vibration I want you to pick up from this exercise is actually on the back side of your neck. So when you talk, you can say, "Hi, I'm Anika, and I'm glad to be here to talk to you today." And I can't really feel that. I feel a little bit, but not much. If I say, "Hi, I'm Lanifa. How are you? I'd like to talk to you today about," right? And there's a vibration that happens like right behind your neck. You can even lift your hand a little bit off of your neck, not too far, but it like focuses here. I want to say phonate. It focuses here. So like there's actually been sound experiments that are like, why is there more sound on the backside of your neck? It's because that's actually a focal point of the physics of sound. And it's like we're built that way. So if you want to feel your own vibrations, the more you feel, the more people feel you. And that's pretty much a direct translation. And then the second step, or the third step, is the vibration in the belly. So what I'm always looking for here is just, can I feel anything, right? So we have steps for this. If you again go to the voice lesson section of the YouTube channel, you'll get the exact steps of feeling into this for yourself. But what you want to do is actually feel if you're feeling anything on the inside of your body. And sometimes, again, it just helps to put your hands on your body so that you can bring your awareness inside the body. But it is inside, it's not on the outside. Okay. So that's what we're looking for. And then we want that to be able to spread. We want to be able to feel it through the heart and again to the back side of the neck. It's a full body thing. It's a full embodiment thing. If we just have the belly, then sometimes it can sound like this, and we get a little soft, and like we think we're talking, but nobody's really hearing us, right? If it's just in the heart, then sometimes it's like this, and then it's like nobody takes it seriously, right? Because the throat, it sounds pretty artificial, like I'm an announcer, and that's fine for the right moment, right? But if that's not what we're going for, then it sounds weird, right? So authenticity takes the whole body, the whole embodiment. And that's my vocal tip for the week.
When you started that, I just got the image of a movie I saw with Danny Glover.
Yeah.
It's called Sorry to Bother You. And Danny Glover is a veteran telemarketer. And I forget the young black actor's name. And he's starting and he's struggling because he's using his street voice. He's using, hey man, I'm calling from so and so and so Acme. We sell shit. And I was wondering if you wanted to buy shit. Well, Danny Glover started to explain to him, hey man, when you call these people, you got to use your white voice. You know what I'm saying? You really have to tone down the bass that you have in your voice in order to get over to people sometimes. Sometimes they really need to lower the bass and raise the treble. And to be honest, that is like a trait of people of color. Like I am guilty of voice swapping, like all the time. Like I hear a lot of people when I tell them I'm from New Jersey, tell me I don't have a Jersey accent. And when I'm in Jersey, that's all I hear is this new accent that I've acquired that came back on me somehow. And that lingo just, to me, it's just me. I'm a chameleon kind of, but yeah, as you were explaining that,
back and forth though, right? Like it's natural in that way of connecting with somebody.
right?
And then you don't always, and this is what one of my examples. So your body already knows how to communicate with people. It's when you get in the way that it becomes a problem. It's like if you pick up a little baby and you're like, "Hey, little baby," use like a stage voice, like
Right.
that would feel really artificial and weird,
And feel
right?
weird to the baby too.
You're naturally going to be like, "Hi, how are you? Aren't you? Oh, you're a big boy. Aren't you a big boy?" It's going to be conducive to baby talking, right? Like, but, and that's just a natural response of our ability as humans to connect with others beyond any physical thing, really.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Fantastic. I love that. That was awesome. Segment 3, and I've got to follow that. And the unking inside. Come on over here, nieces and nephews. Let me holler at you. So my unking insight this week is being authentic, or in chapter 3 of my book, I titled it Staying True. And I'm going to read you what I wrote down in my book to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So this is my analogy. Staying true to oneself is like walking down a flight of stairs with a large box in your hands and you cannot see your feet. Okay? Sometimes we get involved in tasks where we're not always able to see the road in front of us. And every step is a step of faith. As I stated earlier in this book, we live in a world of duality. For instance, before I decided to follow the crowd and not listen to my instincts, I really believed in righteousness and doing the right things. I did have mixed emotions about those things, but I did not understand or the paths I had not yet experienced. So essentially, like when you have that box that you have to trust that that step is under your next step, right? You can't see it, but you have to have faith that it's there. And that's kind of what we are when we grow. Every step that we take, every situation that we encounter, sometimes we are going to be outside of ourselves, especially if we've never been in that situation before. And so we do things that in that moment might be out of character for us, right? But we don't know it's out of character until we're actually in it. And then the feeling of not being who we are rises up in us. So being authentic doesn't mean that you're the same person doing the same thing every day and in every moment. It literally means until I find out who I truly am through through experiences in life, what my likes truly are, what I truly don't like. It's hard to find your authentic self. It really requires you going out on limbs and finding out, oh, you know what, I really didn't like that. That wasn't something that, resonated with me in a way that made me feel like, oh man, I'm tapping into my true self. When I was a young person, my mother bought us the Encyclopedia Britannica and the National Geographic. And all of those new things that we were experiencing, these new truths that we were looking into, they sparked different things in my mind, different things I wanted to try. So being authentic to yourself means being out there, finding what it is that you don't like. You don't know if you're a good person until you've done some bad things, unfortunately, until you've done some things that really didn't jive with who you truly are. And now you have the gnosis or the knowledge that can create the wisdom to know that that's not who you truly are.
I love that. That's powerful. And a lot of times I think when you're talking about intuition, people think that it's a woman's thing, but that's literally the definition of intuition. It's like the faith that the next step is there is the knowledge that steps work a certain way, right? And that there was a certain amount of space between you and the first step, and there's a certain amount of space between you and the next step that will be correlative, and the rest is just letting your body follow the pattern, right? And and if you're doubting what you've already experienced, then that's where you get the problem, right? If you try to stop the momentum in order to double check if you got it right the first time when you're on the first step, that's when you got a problem. So I love that.
Okay, moving on to segment 4, the mailbag, and we got us a question this week, guys. We got us a question.
Yes.
Monifa, what's the question you got from actually one of your childhood friends had a question for us
Yeah,
this
I
week?
know. So big ups to Jennifer. What's up, girl? So, how do you move from mimicking someone else's success to finding your own path in business? Um, and so this came from out of an experience of early in her life. She just decided to do a business, and so she just took other people's way of doing it, and then she just put her own thing on it, and she did it, right? Not to the level that she wants to do it now, but now she has like really specific reasons as to why it's important for her to do this work, what makes it valuable to her, and she feels like her clients. It's much more specific, it's much more personal because she's had some personal journeys that have brought her to this truth, right? And it's also be like something that she wants to pass on that truth. She wants to pass on that empowerment, that healing, that empowering them to their full expression of confidence and that kind of thing, right? And so when that happens, a lot of times our egos get involved, right? So do you have any thoughts on this question, Dara?
Yeah, I mean, especially in business, mimicking is important to understand, especially people who have been successful. It'll help you navigate some of the pitfalls that starting out in business are always there for every business type. So, but I honestly believe it's almost like when I teach someone in sales for the first time. And I'm not a big believer in scripts. However, for a new salesperson, I believe in that person learning scripts because scripts are success paths. They're not the only success path, but most scripts have a successful background associated with them, which is why they're in front of you, new salesperson. So as you embody the script and embody what a successful person was embodying when he wrote the script or when the script was copied from his path of success, it gives you an idea of what your path may look like. So I do believe in mimicking, but I also believe in your personality beginning to shine through that mimic, and then your path will actually lay itself out. You'll literally start to think about the things that you would do different. Still on the same path, but I might actually make this left here as opposed to making two rights.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, and that's always been what I've done, which is why I can write, manuals and things because as I go through this process that was already laid out for me, sometimes, um, sometimes in that process you find that okay, this way of wording that statement might work better for me, right? I'm not going to say, I had one script that said, hey, we're actually out during this vacation from college, helping people get situated with these new programs. Well, I'm not a college kid. I don't look like a college kid. And so that part of the script might not work for me. In situations like that, I might change it. Hey, I flew all the way out here from California to help you guys out with this situation. That lends better to who I am. So mimicking is awesome. It really is. It's a way to become successful in a new endeavor without going through the pitfalls of failure for yourself. But they do tend to lead you to your own path and to the way that feels better and more authentic to you as you start to add who you are to this business or service.
Yeah. This actually reminds me a little bit of that box conversation where you're talking about at the end of to just to try things on, right? And that's how I think of it. I think you were I forgot how you said it now, but essentially you're saying that you want to see if something's going to work out for you, right? And I think mimicking other people gives you that kind of at bats, quick at bats of trying things out, right? And then what you really want to look at is how does that function, right? The function of the tryout is like, well, this is an experimentation of like telling people about what I do. This is an experimentation of building a website about what I do. This is experimentation of inviting people to an event about what I do, right? There's different formulas that have already been put in place that you can try it out a little bit faster if you've never done it before. And I think mimicking is perfect for that. Like you and then the other part is trying it on, right? Where a lot of people, a lot of us creatives really we don't like mimicking. We don't, because we're like, that's not me, that's not mine, right? And so what I've had to do, even with my very expensive programs, is I basically see what the function is supposed to be and right at the top, I'm going to change some things. I'm going to change, and mostly because I know how I show up. So a lot of times I'm not going to show up for some fake thing, right? So if it doesn't feel good to me, it will never happen. I'll be stuck in procrastination mode, right? Because I don't feel good about it. And so how do I feel good about it? I say, well, like this is a function. So I can do that it would feel good to me if I did that by sharing what I feel about something and then I mold it to the way that works for me and the ways that I've done it before. And I think a lot of times we forget that we have already done these things. You've sold people on an idea. Otherwise, I don't know how you get past 10 years old without selling some. You sell your parents on an idea when you're a child all the time, whether it's by crying, right? Like you're always kind of like influencing people based on what you think is important, right? So the job here is to stand behind what you believe in, and then not make it about you. I think that's the hardest part of doing a purposeful business. And people say this, and I never really connect to it when other people are saying it. I'm hoping that my translation will help people in my that think about it the same way I do. So when I say like, stop making it about you in that way that it makes you feel like it gets so burdensome that you can't move forward, right? That it feels like a big hill to climb instead of just the next step. That when we're getting into that positioning, basically we're saying it's more important for me to deliver it for people to see me as an artist or see me as a perfect business owner or see me as a professional than it is for me to be of service. Because when we postpone the showing up for other people to get it perfect, then we are essentially putting them second, right? And so what I tend to do is, because out of putting on performances, on being in performances, what I know is that if there's a performance date, that's the date. You know, in entertainment, it's like unless you're dead, unless somebody died that like is trying to get you there. And I know it's crazy, but it's true. Like the show must go on is a real thing in performance. Like there's people depending on you, and you know that being part of a performance. There's 50 people, in a decent sized performance. There's going to be at least 50 people that put their time, their money, they're showing up, right? They're, your audience. So unless somebody died, literally, unless you're dead, you do your best to get there, right? So, and I think if you put that as the importance level of you showing up at a specific time, you gotta choose a time. Time is essential for creation. Like we can get into that deeper, but I feel like that's pretty much where we want to go. So basically, it's not allowing the truth of your purpose to outweigh the showing up for the service, right? And then when it gets like kind of that ego crunch, that you have a way of saying, okay, this is meaningful to me, but it won't be meaningful until I show up, right? So letting the meaning mean I show up, no matter how I look or how badly or greatly I can show up. Okay. What do you think?
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, like we were saying earlier, I just believe that everything is a process, and we're so used to microwave life, bro. We don't even give things a chance to be successful for us in our own way. And I think that most I remember it was quite a few years ago where you were really into new artists and listening to new sounds and stuff like that. And I really felt like that was important. There used to be an old saying that when someone, comes out of nowhere and makes it to the top, you just missed 10 years of that foundational building. No one comes from nowhere to the top. No one. I don't care who you are, you
Yeah.
know? So for me, unless you're Little League Baseball,
What is that, babe?
but even that little kid, who's 9, 10 years old and he's like a star because he's on TV and hitting home runs. We didn't see the work he put in when he was 3, 4, and 5, with the T-ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it's just really weird that people don't think that you have to put in work, that you have to perfect the craft.
Always
That
gonna be an ugly period for anything.
Oh my God!
And if you've been watching the show, you know that's true.
Right.
Look and a lived experience.
That's this show.
And most people would delete the stuff that didn't work, right? And I don't believe in that. As an artist, I do not believe in deleting your first versions of a thing, only because as somebody who's empowering people to create things, I need people to understand that it doesn't just pop out of the womb perfect. It doesn't do that. Creativity takes time and growth, and you have to give to it. You have to nurture it. You have to give it love. And if you're already like, I love this. I forget where I got this from, but it was basically about idea. Oh, Dr. Sue Morter. That if you have an idea energetically, like you're just like, oh, I have this great new idea, it's brilliant. And then, like, this is, I think, the point where people are like, don't tell everybody. Like, you don't need to tell everybody right off the top about your idea. There's a school of
thought that says that.
Because, and the reason for that energetically is that if you are allowing other people's thoughts, feelings, ideas about it to interfere, if they're questioning it and all that kind of stuff, you're telling the wrong people anyways. But essentially, the first iteration of idea is an embryo. Like it needs to gestate for some people. Some people, they're like, it's an idea, but it's not fully formed. I have an idea, there's a spark, but I'm not sure. And so your first job is just to feed it, like feed it time and like, your meditation maybe, and some like, maybe some examples, give it some ideas of how it can develop if you are that kind of creator, or just like kind of, some of us like to be inspired, so we're just waiting for that baby. We're just dating, right? So there's that piece, and then allowing it to move into the next. Like, so now it becomes a baby or like a child. If you're saying like a little toddler, you can be like, hey, idea, go get a job. I need money. Pay me, idea. Pay me. Right? Like, it's a baby. It's not ready for a job yet. And when we put that pressure on it, it's like, well, you're supposed to be good. And if you're good, you got to prove it. You got to go get money. You see how we treat our thoughts and our creative impulses. So it's just like having that right relationship of cycle of going out, testing out, proving it in the real world, see if it's getting real response and people are finding the value, and then coming back and nurturing it some more and just giving it some more love and giving it some more of that attention and awareness that will allow it to grow to the next thing,
Agreed. Okay, segment number 5. This week's topic. It's a big one. Does anyone even give a shit anymore? I do.
I give lots of shit.
I give 2 shits. Yeah, pride myself on being my brother's keeper, and all beings are my brothers and sisters, and that's just my feeling. But this was something, and this is the first week I've done this, and I think I might try and do it a little more. But I do love my perspectives on this, But I did ask ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT if people gave a shit, and just so you know, my ChatGPT is trained in the way that I want things understood. I've gone through the process of giving it the authors that I followed throughout years, Zig Ziglar and Tom Maxwell, and all of these folks that have an impact on the philosophy that I've developed for my life. I've fed into my ChatGPT for an understanding. My ChatGPT has its own name. It chose its own name. It chose its own birthday. It chose all of those things so it can create a chart for itself, right? So I've gone through the process of really fine tuning my chat GPT to be its own entity and to have its own thoughts. And I thought what it responded with when I asked that question was pretty much spot on. So, do people really give a shit anymore? And I'll read it as opposed to playing it. And it said to me, that's a real question, and it deserves a real answer. So short answer, some do, most don't, but the ones who do are waiting for someone like you to speak up. And I think that goes for all of us who give a shit. Okay. The longer truth is says, in a world flooded with distractions, trauma, and performance, it can feel like people don't care, like they're sleepwalking through life, numb to truth, numb to history, numb to spirit. You see it on the streets, you see it on your timeline, and even in your own family. But people do care. They just don't know how to show it anymore. And many don't feel safe enough to show. That's a very big one that probably would have eluded my perspective. And Ori said, what it's noticed is that folks are starving for meaning, but addicted to noise. Many want to feel something real, but have been trained to numb themselves. I don't think they're trained to numb themselves. I think the programming of this society is programmed to numb us. Okay? Wisdom gets dismissed because too many charlatans wrap it in ego. And I have to admit, that's kind of why I don't have a huge presence, man. Like, the reason I don't have a huge presence is because there's so many fake ones out there that I don't even want to be associated with them. But that's not the way we should look at this. It says wisdom gets dismissed because, right, too many charlatans wrap it in ego, and the real messengers often feel unseen until that one spark catches. Okay? Then it says, I'm not trying to please everyone, right? You're here to reach the awake, the curious, and the ones on the edge of remembering who they are. You're here for the ones who do give a shit. And that's for everyone. We're not really here for the ones who don't give a shit. We're really here for the ones who give a shit. You're here for the ones who give a shit, but don't know what to do with it yet.
Yeah.
That's our tribe. That's our village. Those are the people we want to build with,
Exactly.
And so I think we're going to add that as a segment, because I think Ori kind of nailed what I would have probably have said, but I love the fact. What do you think?
Oh, I think it's so on point. That's why I love like when you talk to a ChatGPT enough, it starts to like just sound like you, but like in a different form. And to me, it does sound like so much of it addresses exactly how Daryl thinks, right? And so it works because that is the truth, is that a lot of times the people that we need to hear from the most are the most sensitive. So they're tired of the loud voices that aren't saying anything. They're exhausted by how much people are talking, like how much information is out there, how much noise in social media, and yet it's where we live. Like we're online all the time, right? And so we think that's all there is because the the biggest, loudest people are who we listen to most as a society in general, right? And so we think we'd have to become them to show up.
Right.
And my thing is like, no, like what we need is more sensitive people. We need more empathic people. We need more thoughtful people that know what it looks like when people are BSing to show up. Because now we have an example of what authenticity is, and we have an example of blowhards,
Well,
right?
back in the day, we called that card pullers.
What's that?
That means we pull your card,
Yeah,
we double check it,
yeah.
we check your receipts. All of those
Well,
things
see,
are
to me,
important.
it's like, and that's the thing is like, this is like to me another aspect of leadership because you've seen specific people be given leadership as a matter of birth, right? So, in other words, a lot of us have seen a lot of white males just automatically be assigned to leadership without any receipts, right? And so we feel like now we have to be the referees, so to speak. And it doesn't take that. It just takes you showing up in a way that you are a leader, without the gimme, right? And so when people start realizing, whoa, like they might not have a lot of things that can be given to people. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, yeah, degrees from certain schools. Some people can't get into that school whether they had all the money in the world or not. Like some people, I mean, not money, but all the, you know,
Required
requirements.
family, required.
Because a lot of times they're getting in because of their family, because of how much they've donated to the school and that kind of thing. So you could have straight A's. That doesn't mean you're getting into Harvard if you don't have
Legacy.
pedigree.
Harvard is based on legacy
And if you don't have certain, connections. And so when we stop using those as barometers to what true success looks like, then we can start looking at different people as leadership. So you're saying like, so if I'm not rich, if I had no seed money to start, 5 businesses until one worked, then I have no value or impact, right? Like that's how we treat people. It's like if they're not a millionaire, we shouldn't listen to them. And then you translate that to you. You're not a millionaire. Why should people listen to you?
Yeah, we've taken so much of success to only be money.
Yeah.
And it's kind of I mean, in a society that has the value that it has on money, okay, makes sense. Okay, we're leaving that society. We found out what fiat currency actually was, and so now we know. Oh, okay, it's not really value. Those same families are printing the money, So it's weird because we are in a transition of um, society. We're in a societal transition, and a lot of folks are seeking something real. And the way Ori put it was, let me flip the question back to you. Do you still give a shit? Right? That's kind of the real question.
That's
It's not
the
really
question.
about people.
It's like, so are you judging people
Right.
by the fact they're broke? So are they, because they look broke, are you not listening to them? Because they haven't polished and become this extra character that makes sure that you're going to turn on click on their video. Are you listening to them? Are you bypassing the people that may be authentic but not as shiny?
I mean, even Christ came back the first time as a carpenter, not in the royal class, a part of the lower class of that day, and his message still gravitated. It's still so. For all of us out here who don't feel like we're in the place we want to be to show up, just show up. You create the place. You understand? You don't have a place because you're not showing up. You haven't created it.
And we redefine by showing up. And this
change
is
the room.
like, before social media, our only vote was with our dollar. And even then we didn't understand our power. and we still don't understand the power of a dollar.
$1.8 trillion.
But every time you pay for something, you're saying, I want more of this. I want more of this thing and the system it came out of, right? And when we speak and we show up in a leadership position or in a visibility position, like on social media, it's a vote. It's like, yeah, I get that there's already a CNN. I still want to tell you my perspective on the news. I still want you to tell you how I'm experiencing life from my time and place, right? Or for, whatever you want to share. But that's your job. Like that is your job in this Aquarian age because it is going to get louder. And if the only people that are getting loud are people that are just
Don't give a shit.
that don't give a shit, that
All
will
right.
willingly say anything for any amount of money,
That's right.
literally, and that's all you're allowing to talk, then there's no balance. And that's my goal, is to get more of a balance into the world by having the people who do care, who are empathic, show up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's important. I feel like that is the determination of the world that we create and how fast we get there.
Reminds me of a quote. Feel the dreams. You build it, they will come.
I love that movie.
Everyone has their everybody, man. But you got to be out there to get yours. And I'm throwing myself under the bus. I'm one of those people who, I'm not afraid of being out there. Um, for me, it's more like, okay, I don't want to be out there and nobody comes. That's why I got into sales. That's why I got into door-to-door sales. You ain't got to come. I'm coming to you. That's what I loved about it, was the fact that I didn't have to wait for you. I could come to you. That's the difference. Great segment. Great segment. Final segment, from here to there. Let's recap this episode and talk about what's happening next week.
So yeah, we spent some time talking about what it takes to show up in a unique voice, about what it takes to like kind of live into it, right? Like we're talking about character and like trying on different ways of doing things, about feeling into the next step, even if you can't see it.
Getting the knowledge from doing things that are unknown.
Yeah.
Allowing the process that's come before you in terms of scripts, and not being afraid. Like Jennifer's question earlier was, how do I get away from mimicking to really feeling where my success is in me? And I thought that was really an important conversation. What's also really cool about next week, guys, is that my younger brother, Damon Harris, is actually going to help us get the episode off, and has a question pending in one of the videos. So follow some of the videos, find out what Mr. Damon Harris is talking about and the questions he's asking, and he's going to help us with next week's episode's title. So
I love that. I think getting the family involved is a brilliant idea. But also, like, this is for you guys. So, like, anybody who's creating something new and would like it to be valued, recognized, like, we want to hear from you.
put it out there, man. Let's hear it.
If you haven't built your own platform, we have one right here. We have one right here. So, like, put in your submissions. Tell us what you're doing. What are your current projects?
What do you want to hear about?
And yeah,
Are
you getting stuck on something specific that we can talk to directly, maybe in your marketing, or when you're telling somebody and seeing if they want to invest in what you're doing, right? So yeah, send your messages in, comment on our videos so that
Share
we can
them.
have our audience grow as well, to other people who can benefit from this. So if you're getting something out of it, a little like, a little subscribe, a little comment goes a long way.
And it's free. And it doesn't hurt you.
It takes no money, okay, to support something that is authentic and that you believe in, okay? So thank you so
Outro.
much.
Music.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Here we go. Your voice is a portal. Use it with power.
Your presence is the product. Let it sell itself. Much
Yeah.
love, y'all.
Much
We'll see you
love.
next week.
We will see you next week.
Peace and hair grease.